It is 6 o'clock sharp. Marlene, would you mind leading us in the flag salute? And if you are participating remotely, I'd just like to remind you to mute your audio unless you're speaking. Thank you.
Okay. Left hand up. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. City Clerk, if you'd be so kind to call the roll.
That was confusing, huh?
Chair Gavinia,
Here.
Vice Chair Froberg,
Here.
Commissioner Edry,
Here.
Commissioner Herman,
Here.
Commissioner Navarez,
Here.
Commissioner Marlene Ibarra,
Here.
Commissioner Melissa Ibarra.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Excellent, thank you. And City Clerk, do we have any changes to the agenda?
There are none.
In that case, may I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I will move, Melissa.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
City Clerk?
Motion by Commissioner Melissa Ibarra, seconded by Commissioner Froberg to approve the agenda. Chair Gavinia,
Aye.
Vice Chair Froberg,
Aye.
Commissioner Edry,
Aye.
Commissioner Herman,
Aye.
Commissioner Navarez,
Aye.
Commissioner Marlene Ibarra,
Here. I.
Commissioner Melissa Ibarra.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Excellent. Now we will take public comment from members of the audience. And please state your name and business affiliation, if any, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes if you'd be so kind.
Thanks.
Thank
Good
you.
morning, or good afternoon, good evening. Marisa Olguin, I'm with the Vernon Chamber of Commerce. Hello. I just wanted to kind of reintroduce myself to everybody. I know there's some new people on the board, and I just wanted to welcome you and thank you for serving, sacrificing your Wednesday evenings about 4 times a year to volunteer to serve and give back and participate in the Vernon community. So thank you and welcome. These commissions, the city commissions, are part of the reconstruction of Vernon. The good governance reforms called upon by the Vernon Chamber of Commerce in 2010, and then established by the city of Vernon to empower the community to participate in government. Our commissions now have a cross-section of the community of business leaders, residents, and labor. And we're all involved working together to support Vernon healthy governance. Before that, Vernon businesses did not have a seat at the table, businesses or residents. And all that has changed. And before you, the Housing Commission really is a cornerstone of the reforms. In that it's designed to ensure that an independent body governs the city-owned housing stock and not the city council. So what you guys are working towards and on is fantastic. Previously, as you know, many of us, all of us have kind of known, Vernon kind of handpicked the residents, and they offered rents as low as $200 a month. And there was given a perception that the city of Vernon was a company town that would handpick the residents. So thankfully, we are not that city anymore, but it just kind of shows you how critical the role that you play here as a commissioner in the city of Vernon. And we want to make sure that body, your independent role, helps Vernon government and council to ensure that the city-owned housing, its lottery system, the process of it making sure it's free from the control of council, it's not easily corrupted. And that's why the lottery system exists. That's why your work today before you'll discuss rents, making sure they're market rate rents, and that'll be discussed today. Our board of directors have served on all of the commissions, and their fingerprints are really on the policies and the procedures of some of the ordinances that have come out of this work. So we're really proud of that, and we're proud of you for serving, and we really appreciate the work that you do. And I'm just here just to really kind of give that preliminary foundation again, because there's a few council members that, or commissioners that, I'm doing this on all the commissions, frankly. And so I know you're going to enter into some discussions today about that. And, you know, we all had understood that all this is work in progress, and we'll be discussing and evaluating market rate rents and businesses, workers having a priority to live in the city of Vernon. And so all of those will be discussed today before you, and the chamber welcomes the feedback to participate in that feedback and offer recommendations as needed. But it's great to see the body the body as the commission and the Business Industry Commission to kind of lead that effort now. And so that's fantastic to see. So I just wanted to kind of offer those early comments to you. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Nope. In that case, we will now go to presentation item. The presentation item.
Chair Gavinia and commissioners, at this time, it would be appropriate for the commission to select its chair and vice chair for the upcoming year. The municipal code requires that the chair and vice chair be members from different groups of appointees. So we have business representatives, and we have council member appointment, employee of a business, and resident representatives. So the chair and vice chair must be somebody from one of those, two of those different categories. At this time, it would be appropriate for somebody to make a motion to nominate a chair.
I'd like to make the motion on keeping Frank Lavinia as chair. I second that.
Motion by Commissioner Melissa Ibarra, seconded by Commissioner Marlene Ibarra to select Chair Frank Gavinia to continue serving as chair. I will call the roll. Chair Gavinia?
I'm not recused on this one?
No.
Oh, aye.
Vice Chair Froberg?
Aye.
Commissioner Edry?
Aye.
Commissioner Herman?
Aye.
Commissioner Navarez?
Aye.
Commissioner Marlene Ibarra?
Aye.
Commissioner Melissa Ibarra?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, everyone. Can we also have a nomination for vice chair?
I'd like to keep the vice chair as is, Stephen Robert.
I second that.
Motion by Commissioner Melissa Ibarra, seconded by Chair Gavinia to select Stephen Froberg to continue to serve as vice chair. Chair Gavinia?
Aye.
Vice Chair Froberg?
Aye.
Commissioner Edry?
Aye.
Commissioner Herman?
Aye.
Commissioner Navarez?
Aye.
Commissioner Marlene Ibarra?
Aye.
Commissioner Melissa Ibarra?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, excellent. Thank you, everyone.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
Congratulations.
We will now go to the consent calendar. All matters listed on the consent calendar are to be approved with one motion. Items may be removed from the consent calendar by any member of the commission. Those items removed will be considered immediately after the consent calendar. With that said, does any member of the commission wish to pull an item from the consent calendar? Nope. Any public comments for the consent calendar? Looks like also nope. So may I have a motion for consent calendar item number 2?
I'll move Ibarra Melissa.
Is there a second?
I will
I'll
second.
Motion by Commissioner Melissa Ibarra, seconded by Commissioner Marlene Ibarra to approve the minutes of June 10th, 2020. Chair Gavinia?
Aye.
Vice Chair Froberg?
Aye.
Commissioner Edry?
Aye.
Commissioner Herman?
Aye.
Commissioner Navarez?
Aye.
Commissioner Marlene Ibarra?
Aye.
Commissioner Melissa Ibarra?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Now we will go to new business. Clerk, you have the reins.
Item number 3 is City Housing Quarterly Report, and Public Works Director Wall will present the report.
Good evening, Commission. So this is going to be the last time that you see the report in this format. Going forward, we're going to change the format to make this a little more user-friendly for everybody.
Don't feel happy about it.
Let's see. It's not reaching, yeah. So we'll start with some of the financial information from the last 3 months, June through August. During this time period, there were 8 late payments. 2 of those payments were caught up. 6 payments still remain outstanding. Those payments are from COVID-19 impacted tenants. As of August 31st, the outstanding rent from COVID impacted tenants was as follows. We have a resident who is late for the month of August only. We have another resident who is late for 5 months, with partial balances being for 2 of those months, for a total delinquency of $3,241.72. Slide. How Public Works and the City Administrator's Office has responded to these late rents related to COVID-19 is the Vernon Housing Commission's COVID-19 rate repayment procedures were sent via email to all Vernon residents. Renters having difficulty were contacted directly and follow-up calls were made regularly. On July 6th, the COVID-19 rent repayment procedure paperwork was hand-delivered to both of the impacted residents. Follow-up calls were made to impacted residents following the delivery of the paperwork. One resident completed their rent repayment forms and submitted them prior to the July 31st deadline. On August 14th, a mass notification was sent to residents to inform them of LA County's rent relief program that was set to launch on August 17th. On August 19th, each of the impacted residents were notified directly via email of LA County's COVID-19 rent relief program. Moving forward, we plan to continue to follow up via phone and email with these impacted residents, and also follow up with a formal letter from the city requesting rent repayment be made. The challenges on the horizon for this program was the city must adhere to existing county, state, and federal eviction moratoria that are currently in place. Next slide. Some of the revenue highlights. So in the solid orange for fiscal year 2020, which is the fiscal year that just passed, we had a budgeted revenue of $291,020. We collected in rent $264,222. So that gave us a $26,800 variance. For the current fiscal year 2021, the budget again is $291,020 in revenue. Based on the last 2 months of collected rents, we're forecasting that we will finish the year at $352,293. And that increase is due to the fact that we had at one time 5 vacant units, and they are all being subjected to the HUD small area rents, which are significantly greater than the rents that we had been charging when those units were vacated.
I'm sorry, Dan, back up question. Is this the forecast for this year, this last year that ended in June 2020?
So where it says 12-month budget forecast, or 12-month forecast and 12-month budget, the 12-month budget is for 2021. So that's the current fiscal year. And the 12-month forecast is for we're forecasting to finish out in this 2021 fiscal year. So
the dates are, the year is wrong on the slide, correct?
No.
2020?
No. So the way our budget, let's see, yes, it is. So okay. It should say 2021, although we do have both fiscal years shown here side by side. So the one that says fiscal year 2020 is 2019, 2020, and that's on the left, the 2 columns on the left. On the right, it's 2021, and that's based on what is budgeted in the fiscal year budget, and then what we're projecting based on 2 months of collected rent.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Sure. Next slide.
May I ask, is the fiscal budget January to December or?
No, it is July 1 through June 31st.
That's what I interpreted. I wanted to confirm. Thank you.
So operating expenditures last fiscal year, so fiscal year 2019, 2020, we had budgeted $405,836, and we were $100,000 short in what we were able to spend, and that is attributed to, we're attributing that to COVID-19. That stopped a lot of our programs, and so that's why we see the gap there. Going forward, based on expenditures, we use the same budget for operating expenses for this current fiscal year, and based again on 2 months of actual expenditures, we're projecting that we're going to finish within $2,000 of that. We have figured out a way that we can move forward with doing basic maintenance and proactive repairs at homes. So, next slide. In this slide, you'll see in red, we have 2 of the vacant homes. One of them will be ready to rent out on October 9th. The other home is in good condition. It's just dated. It's in its original 1940s condition. That one could also be rented if we chose not to do renovations. We're not sure if we're going to renovate that or rent that one out at this time. We'll know within the next couple of weeks, though, if that's how that's going to be handled. Why we may not renovate that immediately is we may have a current tenant in an existing home move in there temporarily while we renovate their home. And so it wouldn't make sense to upgrade that and then move the tenant back. Next slide. So, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I'm asking a question. The address for 4325, that looks like an old rent and old amount. Is that what they're in right now? That was just recently leased like a year or 2 ago.
4325.
Can you move the microphone more closely?
Yes, actually, that for a 2-bedroom house rented then.
That looks like one of the old.
That is one of the old rents.
So is that a typo?
That is a typo. Okay, so an update on our renovations. So one of the homes that was shown as vacant that will be ready by October 9th is 3361 Fruitland. This is the house that we gutted the inside of it. We're also restuccoing the outside, doing new windows. Some of the work that we've done to date is we've done abatement of lead and asbestos. We've moved some of the interior walls around to provide for a larger kitchen. We've done some electrical upgrades, including installing recessed lighting throughout the home, additional outlets. Some of our rental homes are old enough that they only have 1 electric outlet per room. So we're putting multiple outlets on all of the walls. Drywall is scheduled to be completed the week of September 21st. We're using our own departmental labor to do this work. The windows were back ordered and are now scheduled for delivery the week of September 14th. Installation is scheduled to begin the week of September 21st. We're building the cabinets beginning the week of September 14th, and cabinet installation will be completed the week of September 28th. Stucco is also to be completed the week of September 28th. And then we're going to do painting, cleanup, any sort of touch-up that we need to do during the week of October 5th. And the home should be ready to rent October 9th. So annual inspection update. There was a question last time about annual inspections. So the last annual inspection of all housing units was performed in late February and early March of 2019. And this was presented to the Vernon Housing Commission on March 13th, 2019. And I've included an attachment to the agenda report that shows what that inspection entailed. The 2020 inspection was originally scheduled for April of this year, but was postponed due to COVID-19 concerns. At the time, we didn't quite know enough about COVID to feel comfortable exposing residents to our workers and our workers to residents. So now that we have a better handle on the appropriate PPE, we're scheduling the 2020 inspection for the first week of November 2020. And we're also going to change the frequency of inspections from the current once a year to twice a year. So we're going to schedule these 6 months apart. So the first inspection in 2021 will take place in May, and then the second inspection in 2021 will also be a November inspection. And the next slide. So advertising and housing interest forms. Since March 31st, we've received 19 valid applications. And how we received these was by advertising for free on Craigslist. We put advertisements on the city website. We also advertise on the City Hall bulletin board. I see there's a typo. We should have taken out the first responders since we've eliminated that policy. We did not advertise to first responders this last go around. We also advertised with the Chamber of Commerce. From July of 2019 through August of 2020, we received 30 housing interest forms, but housing interest forms expire every March 31st for the previous year. So that's why we have 19 valid applications currently. Unit transfer requests that we received, we had a total of 2 from July 2019 through August 2020. And housing interest forms expire on an annual basis. And that concludes my presentation. Are there any questions?
Can you tell me how you guys are handling the repayments or the payment? How are the tenants paying? Because for a resident to have $3,200 outstanding, I just want to know how that's going to be paid back. What are you guys, what is the procedure put in place right now? Are they doing small payments every month? Are they going to wait till this whole COVID thing expires and then start making payments? I want to understand how we're recuperating rents.
Right. Diana Figueroa will be able to address that.
Good evening, Commission. So in order to address these late payments, we've been in contact with, I have to take this off, I'm sorry. We've been in contact with the impacted residents regularly. We've had success contacting one resident. The other, however, is a bit elusive. So the attempts being made are frequent, and we've tried to get in touch with them. This particular renter, I think, has reached out one particular time. So the next step would be to send out our letters to request payment formally. But as Dan mentioned in the presentation, it's a bit difficult for us to take any steps beyond that because of the eviction moratorium in place right now because of COVID-19. So beyond that, our hands are a bit tied.
No, I understand it, but we are being proactive on trying to work something out on getting small payments in every month at least.
Absolutely. The renters know that that's an option. Okay. Absolutely. Yes.
And then, how is the repayment working? Like, I know you said somebody filled out the form and completed. Are they starting now, small payments, and then you have a certain amount of time, or how is that working?
Right now, the agreement reads that this person is obligated for a payment of $200 every month to kind of recover their rent once they fall behind. So technically speaking, this person should pay current rent plus an additional $200. Okay. But as you know, it's a little bit difficult to enforce that just because the difficulty is real and they're not able to keep up. So again, it's just tons of outreach. The particular individual who's been responsive is I can say that they're actively working to pay us, mm-hmm. and they're willing to work with us, and they've been very responsive. I know them by name, and they're very willing to make payments when they are able. So, and we'll just continue to keep you posted. I think with the turn of the new month, it warrants another phone call just to check in to see how they're doing, and we'll just continue our follow-ups and make sure that they haven't forgotten about us.
No, that I like to hear the follow-up, that's why. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Any other questions from the commission? Any public comment on the presentation? Okay, if there isn't, then may I have a motion to accept Director Wall's presentation?
I'll move with the requested changes, the typers.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Melissa Ibarra, seconded by Commissioner Froberg, to receive and file the September 2020 City Housing Quarterly Report as amended. Chair Gavinia,
Aye.
Vice Chair Froberg,
Aye.
Commissioner Edry,
Aye.
Commissioner Herman,
Aye.
Commissioner Navarez,
Aye.
Commissioner Marlene Ibarra,
Aye.
Commissioner Melissa Ibarra.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item number 4 is Vernon Housing Commission Ad Hoc Committee update on need for a business priority in city-owned housing, and Public Works Director Wall will present the report.
So this is an update for the Business Priority Ad Hoc Committee. The committee initially met with staff in June to formulate a plan to gather feedback from the business community about business priority housing for essential workers. This resulted in a survey that was sent to the Chamber of Commerce and to 125 businesses in Vernon. As a result of that survey, last week we had received 25 of those surveys, and a majority of the respondents in the surveys believed that a business essential worker priority for city-owned housing would create value for their business, and that their employees would be very interested in living in Vernon. 84% of respondents expressed interest in having the Vernon Housing Commission establish a business priority for essential Vernon workers. City staff also presented the business essential worker priority idea to the Business and Industry Commission at its August 13th meeting. After much deliberation, the commission favored a priority not just for essential workers, but for all Vernon employees working in businesses here in Vernon. The results of the survey and the commission's recommendation were shared with the ad hoc. The ad hoc asked that current methods used to advertise, asked about current methods used to advertise the availability of city housing. And staff determined that better outreach and marketing directed at workers in Vernon is feasible, and plans to develop a marketing campaign that focuses on people working in the city. And this campaign would include things such as posters at our bus stops, street banners, to make workers that are coming in and out of the city aware of the availability of city housing. Going forward, staff will track the source of advertising used to reach persons who have submitted interest forms. And this concludes my report.
So is there going to be some sort of action item arising out of the ad hoc committee's work on this?
So the ad hoc committee recommended that staff do a better job of advertising to Vernon workers. The ad hoc did not agree with what the Business and Industry Commission wanted, which was to have a priority for all employees in Vernon. The ad hoc felt that if that's the case, why not just the general lottery then? And so in order to outreach to the employees of businesses, that's why we're going to amp up our advertising campaign.
But nothing insofar as like a policy
Nothing,
change or recommendation.
Right. We're gonna give the advertising campaign a chance and see if we can attract more people who are employed here in Vernon into our housing.
So your recommendation then is to use the lottery and along with advertising to bring in potential Vernon business individuals to live in the city,
Yes,
rather than
exactly.
establish a policy allowing
some sort of priority.
some sort of priority for a business in Vernon to have a first responder in Vernon?
Well, there's two issues, just speaking on behalf of myself on the ad hoc. The business and industry's recommendation was making it general to everybody. Then the question was, okay, well, advertise it better, get it out there and go directly for the employees. But the second part of it was the priority list, which we said we should do a combined ad hoc committee with business and industry and housing to come up with an actual priority. Is there a need for priority working? And if we do, what would it establish? Like a priority would be for who? Would it just be for manufacturing? Would it be for everybody in general? What makes it a priority to have an employee here? Because you have to remember, when we do a priority list, you're bumping from a list of 100. If you're at number 100, you're going to number 1. So that priority, you want to keep it, at least my recommendation would be, keep the priority list set the way it is, that you're moving your name from a higher number in the lottery to a number 1. So you get that priority, but when the business goes out of business, you lose your job, you lose that house as well. So with that, keep that in mind. So we requested a combined ad hoc to discuss that portion of it, because what is a priority list that's needed in businesses here? That's the question that's still outstanding, is what's required? What makes your business a priority that you can bump somebody from 100 to number 1? That needs to be addressed.
Okay, so I guess then the direction is we'll set up another ad hoc committee with both groups and continue to do a little bit of research and come back with the recommendation.
So right now, there's no rush to do this, but we should create it so we can, whether if there's a need or if there isn't a need.
Okay.
So based off of your survey, there's a need, but then based off the business and industry, they said open it to everybody that works in Vernon, but that's not establishing a priority. We need to figure out what's priority.
What defines the word priority?
What defines the priority?
Okay.
And that's what we need to define, and that's why we're doing a double ad hoc to combine, so we could define that. That needs to be defined. Number 1 is define what's priority.
Okay.
Because I thought we were defining it in such a way that it would be certain employees with skills that would have to respond as a responder, say to a burglar, a burglar alarm or a fire alarm or something that happens at those factories. Those employees, as opposed to, I guess, having
and you need more
every single employee.
That's why you need more outreach. You need more businesses to get involved, because if you send out 120 people, businesses a survey, and you got 25 back plus whatever the chamber's input, that's not really reaching everybody. That's only reaching, the main companies that are all involved. You got Gavinia, you got Farmer John, you got, all these the main companies. Why isn't there somebody else? What makes a priority? What makes your employee a priority to your business? That's what needs to be defined, and that's what needs to be clarified.
Shouldn't it also be not just to the business, but to the city, how it impacts the city, what role they play within the city as well?
No, well, that could be a question to ask.
As far as any department that needs to
Any
respond?
department, because if we have to go back to the city because it's something bigger, then I think that has more priority than just.
So the city implemented what's called a standby program a couple of years ago, and that allows certain first responders, if you will, not necessarily public safety, but first responders within different departments to respond to different incidents inside the city. So, for example, the electric utility here in Vernon, they have standby lists for both distribution, transmission, and then substation and operations, so they can bring in people quickly. But yes, I mean, my point of view is I'd rather have it available for the business community versus bringing in more first responders from the city.
Right, but let's look at Farmer John, for example. Since they're close to the LA River, that impacts Vernon itself. So wouldn't the desire for first responders, some kind of incident that happened there is greater than somebody that's just a regular manufacturing? And
I understand what you're saying. Yeah, there has to be some sort of level of definition of why or what would bump you to the top of the list to be able to be a first responder.
And that's what needs to be defined. And as a resident myself, I can't just rely on one business. We need more businesses involved to have a conversation and come up with
with the definition.
Yeah, at one point, the thought process was like some of these meat packing companies, or you know, if they have, let's say we have a power outage, and they have to shut down their machinery, and they need a specialized manager, someone to come in to reset all the machinery. That person lives in Vernon, could respond quickly and get their product back up and running quickly. So those are types of things that we can foresee that would be required of some of the businesses. Different first responders that could, not necessarily for public safety, but respond to business needs very quickly if need be. But we need to define that. And then the other thing we have to consider is how many homes do we want to designate for this? You
That
know,
should still stay as it was in one of the ordinance 4. It should
Four.
stay the cap at 4 the way it was written. I wouldn't put like a whole block for residents, you know?
no, I agree.
Was there not a definition of a like business first responder in one of the past?
It was more defined for fire and PD. It was the way it was written was more defined.
It was geared for public safety.
Okay.
So-
Public safety employed by those businesses?
No,
No,
just Verdant,
Oh.
PD,
Vernon.
and fire. So that's the reason why we eliminated it a couple
We
of months ago,
eliminated
right? We eliminated it a couple of months ago on our suggestion to the council. And now we have to come up with a term if we want to keep it. So in the ad hoc committee, to my knowledge, if I remember, is it still needs to be defined. What constitutes your employee as a first responder? What makes you move from number 55 to number 1?
If I may suggest, perhaps we should consider certain businesses that have graveyard shifts, which would sort of eliminate those businesses that operate a 9 to 5. You know, businesses that have a graveyard shift and machinery that someone needs to be nearby. So as an expert with the machinery, let's say that works the day shift, has to be on standby, nearby, where, you know, live in Vernon and get to the business much quicker. And that's maybe something that we need to explore.
It might even be helpful for staff to potentially do a little bit of research on if there is like a statutory definition of a business first responder somewhere out there in some other municipality, or maybe take a first pass at creating a definition for what a business first responder is, versus I don't know.
That's why I suggested a combined ad hoc committee with business and industry, since business and industry deals with businesses in Vernon, and we have a committee that's open to public and open to every business to come in. So if we could do a combined one, we could come up with a definition on what defines a priority a priority for businesses.
And I agree with that.
You know, part of housing, we're only housing, we deal with housing. Let's get business and industry involved and see how they can help us. You know, reach out for help. Don't put the burden only on staff. As committees here in Vernon and our interest in Vernon, we should all work together and try to come up with something.
Of course.
If at the end of that comes up with, well, you know what, there really is no need, then we come back and say, look, there is no need, and let's just keep the lottery general and then really push and advertise. Because looking at the advertisement on what we do, we don't advertise well here in Vernon. But the suggestions we gave to Dan Wong, he's really optimistic on it, and I think our lottery is going to grow. Every year, what is it, 30? It went from like 60 people down to 20, 30 people every year, because there's not enough stock in Vernon. That's the other thing. Vernon stock isn't available every month. It's one every 2-3 years, maybe 5 years. So, you know, maybe advertise it better.
Of course. So that would just maybe then for the ad hoc committee, just something to think about, that that definition could already exist. You know, I know we believe in Vernon exceptionalism, but I'm sure a municipality somewhere has addressed this issue in the past. Any public comments? Oh, well, there might be further discussion. Any further discussion? Not any public comments?
Just brief. Under 3 minutes, our city clerk. I love the direction. I think it's a great idea that you have both bodies, the ad hoc committee of both bodies, to kind of contribute and engage. Our thoughts just, we want to kind of take a look at the survey results and the business feedback before the chamber weighs in. You know, as when we first established it, we knew there might become a time where we reevaluate it, and it is work in progress. So the idea and the spirit of the first responders was indeed a worker who could quickly respond. And some of the earlier thoughts were those companies that run 24/7, those who had those who are skilled with EHS, environmental health, safety certificates, hazmat training. As you know, there's companies that have staff that are hazmat trained, lockout, tagout, those types of specialties that they're here and available. So I think those conversations are going to kind of come out naturally as you guys meet and discuss. So thanks very much.
Thank you. So it's still a work in progress. That's all I can say.
So it seems like we may have a two-pronged motion, perhaps. I mean, receiving and filing the update, but do we also want to instruct staff to schedule a meeting between these two ad hoc bodies to continue to press forward with the issue?
Correct. If that's your motion, I'll second.
I believe the second part of your motion would be
To
to
create-
request that the Business and Industry Commission select 2 of its members to serve on a Business and Industry / Housing Commission ad hoc for the purpose of discussing the need for a business priority in housing.
Yes. So if he first did, I second.
Firsted. Firsted by Chair Gavinia, seconded by Commissioner Melissa Ibarra, to receive and file the update and request the Business and Industry Commission select 2 members to form an ad hoc with the Housing Commission.
Thank you.
Chair Gavinia,
Aye.
Vice Chair Froberg,
Aye.
Commissioner Edry,
Aye.
Commissioner Herman,
Aye.
Commissioner Navarez,
Aye.
Commissioner Marlene Ibarra,
Aye.
Commissioner Melissa Ibarra.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 5 is City of Vernon Housing Unit rental rates, and Public Works Director Wall will present the report.
So in December of 2018, the Vernon Housing Commission established the rental rates for vacant units, and they established that these would be based on the HUD small area fair market rents or Vernon zip code of 90058. Currently, the rates are $1,250 for a 1-bedroom unit, $1,620 for a 2-bedroom unit, and $2,170 for a 3-bedroom unit. In recent lotteries, interested parties at or near the top of the lottery list have ultimately declined to rent the units, resulting in delays in filling these vacancies. However, all units were have ultimately been filled at the HUD rates, and these were filled by people who were either the second or third runner-up in the lottery. This would seem to indicate that the HUD rates are truly market rates for the area and that they are neither over or under the market rent, which is why you have people passing on them because they're not a bargain, but at the same time, people are renting them because they're not overpriced. Staff seeks direction from the commission on what, if any, changes should be made to initial monthly rental rates. This concludes my report.
Discussion?
I mean, so the HUD rate is, I mean, if it's the most accurate or the best reflection of market rate, then is it safe to infer that that might be a recommended rate from the city?
Yes, well, it certainly was staff's recommendation in 2018, and we seem to be doing all right in filling units. Again, recent experience has shown that the people who've actually came in first place in the lottery decided ultimately to pass, but the second or third runner-ups in the lotteries have rented, which to me means that we're not offering the units at a bargain, but we're not so overpriced that no one wants to rent them. So it would seem like that is the market rate.
Yeah.
Knowing what the rate is in Huntington Park, Bell and Maywood, we're in line with everybody. And I believe there's a chart here that tells us what
Yes.
it compared to it. There's
Yeah,
a
there
chart
is a-
that compared.
Back on.
So
There's a chart with all the zip codes for
Yeah.
for LA County or
I
LA
believe-
Metro.
I would recommend we keep the HUD rates in place.
All right.
Has there been any change since the economy kind of went down a little bit in the
No,
rents? No?
no, there hasn't. So HUD publishes these rates once a year, and it comes out in October for the upcoming calendar year. And so how they make the projection, I'm not exactly sure, but I know that they base it on a lot of market surveys that they do to find out what the true market rate is. And then they actually set their rate a little bit below what the market rate is. So most housing will actually be a little more expensive than what these rates show, but it's not that far off. So
That was going to be my question, and I'm just saying this aloud. It's not a recommendation or anything, but if you have the second or third runner-up jumping on it, is it possibly still a little underpriced because there's not like a lot of deliberation? It's maybe the first person says no, but number two jumps on it right away.
yeah, we've gone down as far as the third person, but we haven't had to go deeper than that. And that was for apartments, which, because of the way the HUD survey is structured, a 2-bedroom apartment rents for the same price that we're charging for a 2-bedroom house. So I'm fairly confident that the house, the first person on the lottery list when this house is available, the one that we're working on that will be ready October 9th, pretty sure that that's going to be the first person that's going to be interested. So I don't think there's a problem with the rates. Just bringing this forward for input from the commission.
Nothing beats the service of the city. You call the city and they're here right there. So, for the rates that it is, you get the service from the city.
And the
I
parking.
don't- And the parking, you definitely get parking. So not other cities, you have to fight for parking, you have to park
On the
blocks
street.
away, everything.
Yeah.
So, what the city has here, it's worth the HUD rate. The HUD rate isn't the full market value, like if you were privately renting, a 3-bedroom house would go to $4,000, around $4,000. So we're at a good range with these rates.
All right. So then I guess our direction to staff would be to go ahead and stick with the HUD rates.
Okay, thank you.
I think I need a motion for that, though. I can't just do it all alone.
Or another head nod. I've got two.
I'll second.
Okay. So motion by Chair Gavinia, seconded by Commissioner Melissa Ibarra to retain the rates as established by HUD. Chair Gavinia,
Aye.
Vice Chair Froberg,
Aye.
Commissioner Edry,
Aye.
Commissioner Herman,
Aye.
Commissioner Navarez,
Aye.
Commissioner Marlene Ibarra,
Aye.
Commissioner Melissa Ibarra.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, now we will go to oral reports to the extent they exist.
So the only oral report I have from city administration is that we are working with all the residents right now in Vernon to ensure that everybody has high-speed internet and that they are getting at least 20 megabits per second. So is that right? 20, yeah. So we will, we're allowing, we're gonna do a market, well, we've done a market analysis of what AT&T's offering, and they're much slower than what the city can provide. So we will be enhancing and outreaching to our community to see what kind of appetite other residents have to add Vernon internet. So right now, the price for internet is around $40 for the city.
And it's really good speed.
Yeah,
Is that going to be in the whole city of Vernon or just in the residential areas?
just residential areas. So
Okay.
we're trying to make sure that all residents have the ability to have Vernon internet.
Okay.
Does that require any additional infrastructure or anything, or it's just over the existing cable lines or what?
No, we have infrastructure in place that allow us to serve all our residents.
Oh.
How are we wired at the apartments?
There's a hard wire that's been set at the apartments. So that is completed. And so we have routers. We have about 50 routers that we could put in place at the apartments.
Any additional reports from?
Yes, actually, I'd like to invite the commission, if they would like to tour the house that we're, actually all of the homes. We could do a tour of what our housing stock is, including going inside of the house on Fruitland that we're rebuilding. So this, if you guys wanted to do this collectively, it would require a special meeting. If you wanted to do it individually, you could reach out to me or anyone in city admin, and we could arrange to take you on a tour. So
I would highly recommend you guys do this just so that you see and get familiarized with the Vernon stock, since we talk about it every quarter.
Yeah, of course. That's a great offer. I will certainly take you up on that.
okay,
I'll do my best as well.
all right.
Me
So I
too.
think staff is looking for concurrence on whether we should do a special meeting, and if so, when, or whether or not you would like to do it individually. And then those arrangements could be made separately.
If you do a special meeting, does that have to be open to the public?
Yes.
So, I mean, does staff think that could potentially be problematic in the day and age of COVID? No,
No.
not a problem. Okay.
We've done it, well, council's done it. We've done caravans throughout the city the last few months safely.
Yeah, we can notice the meeting at the location, open the meeting. You guys can go in one by one and then come on out. It's really easy.
Cool.
So if you want to do it as a group, we could do that, or you can schedule you can decide to schedule independent meetings with the department, and it's better if we just do it all at once. But
Yeah. Plus team building, right? So.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Right now, if you want to discuss a day, anybody wants to throw out a day for this tour?
And did you have
Everybody
anything
a
in mind,
business?
a particular time frame?
Well, that house will be ready October 9th, so I would suggest after the 9th, but not too far after, because we're trying to rent it out. So if you want a tour of inside, I would suggest either the week of the 9th or the following week.
October 9th is a Friday,
So
so perhaps the week of the 12th. The
Yeah.
12th is Columbus Day. Do we celebrate that? Yeah. Today's Wednesday. Are Wednesdays good for the?
That week, I'm good. Pretty much anything except that Thursday.
Wednesday, October 14th?
Yes. Commissioner Navarez and Edry, does that work for you guys?
That works, yes.
October 14 works as long as it's in the morning
The morning of October 14th?
I'll make myself available.
or daytime, yeah.
Are we going to get an Outlook invite from the city?
yeah, we'll send an invite.
Sweet,
What,
sweet.
So it sounds like we
Okay.
have concurrence for 9 a.m. on October 14th.
Perfect. Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
That'll work. Yes.
Thank
Yay,
you.
field trips.
They're fun.
They were the best part of elementary school.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Best excuse to leave work.
You need to do this.
Okay, any additional reports? No? So without any further business, I adjourn this meeting at 6:54 p.m.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.